Recently, quite a few voice actors stepped out of roles as black characters because they felt as if black voice actors should be the ones to do it instead. Now, while I could make some deeper video about the ethics of this and the relation to the Black Lives Matter movement going around the world, I thought it would be more up my alley to focus on the characters, their voices, and also relate this to some of the other issues facing animation as a whole. And first off, let's be real for a moment here. Whether or not Cleveland Brown is voiced by someone who is or isn't black is totally irrelevant. However, something that's far more important to those who enjoy Family Guy or the character of Cleveland in general is the way he sounds. When I watch an episode of Family Guy, or begrudgingly the Cleveland show, the thought of the voice actor being someone who's white never crossed my mind. Obviously, with 2 seconds of research, you can look up and find out he is voiced by a white guy, but the only response I had when I found out about that was, oh, okay. I don't think that was ever a thing that anyone seriously saw as a major issue, but the issue now is the question of where do we go from here? If you're like me and have watched any great amount of cartoons or anime, you fully understand that these characters are their voices. And as an example, let's take a look far back to a voice actor such as Mel Blanc. He was the original voice of many Hanna-Barbera characters, and even until this day, decades after his passing, his voices are the ones that are so iconic. So iconic, in fact, that most of the recent iterations of these characters he originally voiced are now voiced by people doing their best to imitate his originals from so many years ago. These voices are so very important, and taking them away would be taking away a huge part of what makes the character who they are. Another very good example that many people can understand is with Tom Kenny. And who is Tom Kenny, you ask? Well, maybe you've heard of him. He's known for this little show called SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Imagine the world's most popular sponge being voiced by anyone other than the original himself. Even though unfortunately, the way Nickelodeon loves to milk this show, we might actually get to a point where we may have to. But all morbid thoughts aside, if anyone were to voice SpongeBob after all this time, more likely than not it's going to be a Tom Kenny sound-alike. Because changing the voice of SpongeBob is going to be a huge shock to a lot of people, and you have to have that very iconic SpongeBob voice. Now, going back to the case of Cleveland, for example, I'm sure they could find a sound-alike for his character, but it seems like a bit of a stretch to find a black male sound-alike. And the same way goes for Missy from Big Mouth, even though I know many people would rather have that show be cancelled. And it also goes the same for the black characters on The Simpsons, the many black characters on The Simpsons who will now be voiceless or have to be recast. And funny enough, this reminds me a bit of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when they had to recast Aunt Viv. And I don't know about y'all, but ain't nobody replacing the original Aunt Viv in my eyes. My general opinion is that these voice actors stepping out of these black roles is completely unnecessary. At first, I did think it was a nice sentiment, but after more thought, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I myself am a black male, and I don't care if Cleveland is voiced by someone white, black, Asian, or whatever the case may be. Cleveland has his voice already. He could have kept that without anyone batting an eye. However, if we want to talk about some issues regarding voice actors and representation, we can talk about the more important issues. One recent event was the English dub actress of Mirko. Excuse me if I completely butcher her name, but it is Aniris Quinones. I have no clue if that's right or wrong. But recently she was revealed as the English dub voice actress of Mirko from My Hero Academia, and a lot of people online complained about her voice not sounding black enough.
If anyone out there is scheming right now, you best be prepared for me to send you flying.
Now, I don't know what everyone else believes, but there really isn't a definitive black voice. I still have people saying to me to this day that I don't sound black, but what does that mean? And regardless, does it even matter? The main issue that I can see these other voice actors trying to get at is representation, putting black actors in these black roles because, well, who's better to represent them? The same would go for any other race, and this is why we've seen controversies pop up quite a bit with the Ghost in the Shell live action movie and even the Death Note live action movie. With Ghost in the Shell, there was an argument about why Scarlett Johansson was cast instead of an Asian actress. And then came the debate of whether or not these characters in the original anime were even supposed to be Asian themselves. And then we have Death Note, which is something I very much wish I could erase from my memory, but it had a controversy surrounding not only Light not being Asian, but also whether or not L should have been cast as that one guy from Get Out. First off, in regards to Ghost in the Shell, I personally would have liked to see an Asian woman in the role because I can't recall from the top of my head the amount of Asian actresses who are out here in big budget films. The one thing I want to see the most is diversity, but leading into the case of Elle in Death Note or even Johnny Storm from that god-awful Fantastic Four remake, I think it's also better that instead of forcing in these changes to stir the pot or make a statement, let's just promote more characters who are made as people of color from the jump. I see so many talented black artists on Instagram who share images of their self-created comic series or animated shorts, and their characters and stories are made from a very diverse perspective. If you need a good example of what can happen when black creators get their chance at making full-length series, check out Cannon Busters on Netflix. What started out as a comic in 2005 turned into a fully animated series with a very diverse cast of characters. And the best part is that these characters are voiced by an equally diverse cast. The same of which can be said about other series such as Seis Manos and even Dragon Prince, which are all available on Netflix funny enough. So to go back to the original point of voice actors stepping out of their roles, no, I don't think that is the one true answer. It won't be helping the industry, the fans, or anyone else for that matter. If any changes should be made, just give these black actors more roles and characters that they can voice proudly. The world could always use more entertainment anyways, and I do hope that the example shown just from Netflix alone is a good example of what we can see more of going into the future. And hell, why stop at anime and cartoons and live action movies? I would love to see more video games with these diverse characters too. But that's enough from me. What do you guys think about this entire thing with these actors stepping out of their positions? Do you see it as a good thing or a bad thing, or do you really just think that they need to do something different and promote other actors in the first place? Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter to keep the conversation rolling, and that's all for now, so I'll see you guys in the next one.